Hello everyone. Ever struggled with a huge, messy legacy system and always wanted faster innovation, better team ownership, and clean code boundaries? Today, let's dive into one of the most practical patterns in modern software architecture that's called service per team architecture. I'll walk you through what it is, why it works, and towards the end, we'll discuss three real world success stories that have benefited using this service per team pattern. Welcome to this Tech Talk by Samuel video where you will find IT learning simplified. So let's start this discussion by talking about what is monolithic. Imagine a traditional insurance application which has a giant code base, which has slow release cycles, and which has fragile dependencies. That's your monolithic, right? A small change there, it would be risky. Deployments, they become scary. But with the service per team approach, right, we split the system into independent services, each owned by a dedicated team. So, next, let's talk about what is service per team pattern. In service per team pattern or model, right, every microservice is built, owned, tested, and deployed by a single independent team. So in this model, like I said, every microservice is built, owned, tested, and deployed by a single independent team. And each team aligns with a clear business capability. For example, claim teams, right? They manage claims, and that microservice is fully managed and administered by them. And the billing team, right? They manage the billing engine microservice. Let's say it's microservice 2 and team 2. They fully build, own, test, and deploy that single microservice. That independent team does that. And communication between those teams, right? They all happen through APIs. There is no shared code base here. That's the mantra. There is no shared code base here. Now let's talk about the patterns. By answering this question, why should companies adopt this pattern? The teams, right? They work independently without coordination bottlenecks. That's a big advantage for companies to adopt this pattern. And each team there, right? They have the flexibility to pick their own tools like Node.js. One team wants to have Node.js, fair enough, they can have it. Another team wants to have Java, fair enough, they can have it. If another team wants to go for Python or any other application, you name it, yes, they can have it. So that's the flexibility the service per team pattern brings into the team. And deployments here are faster, bug fixes are faster, and feature rollouts are all faster because they're all like independent teams but still working for that one single application. And it also helps with better scaling for high load services. For example, your payments and searches, right? They're all high load services and they need better scaling, right? And because all these are like multiple different microservices supporting the same application, your payments can be or your searches can be scaled better anytime there is high load in that service. Now let's talk about some of the challenges. Some of the challenges are it's hard to align teams with real user workflows. Finding the real user workflows and creating a team around that service per team scenario, that sometimes is hard. Another challenge would be sometimes the inter-service dependencies, right? Sometimes they can be tangled. That's a challenge. And there are cross-cutting features like reporting and like so. They require orchestration, proper planning before we can move into. There are some challenges here, but all of them are very much addressable and fixable. Now let's discuss some real world scenarios here. Now, how teams can get benefited using the service per team pattern. Let's say there's a large bank and they broke their monolithic into customer KYC service, loan processing service, and compliance reporting service. All of them are totally different teams. Sometimes they don't work together. Now, individual teams, they have their own list of responsibilities, own list of ways the users interact with the team and the kind of features they develop, right? So they all can stay as independent services. And all these independent services are handled by specialized teams. Now, this actually helped meet all those regulatory updates faster, and it has also isolated risk in mission critical modules. So that's how banks can get benefited using this system modernization. And then e-commerce websites, they also can get benefited. Take an major online store. They're monolithic. They generally struggle during peak sales. So we can re-architect them into cart service being one individual service, inventory service being another individual service, and payment gateway being another individual service, and recommendation engine being another independent service. Now, each of these teams, right, they can deploy independently, very less code freezes, or even if there are no code freezes during Black Fridays, right, we still can run the show. Let's pick another example as well. Government health portal. In that health portal, multiple agencies, they need ownership over appointment booking service. That's a different team. And patient records management, that's a different team. And billing system, that's a totally different team. So with service per team model applied and this monolithic broken into multiple microservices, right? Each agency, they can now have their own code base. Each agency, those are separate agencies, they can now have their own DevOps process. They can now have their own release cycles, and still all of them integrated cleanly and neatly. So if you're leading a legacy transformation of managing large teams, right, the service per team pattern is very much worth exploring for your migration. It's all about clarity. Service per team pattern is all about autonomy, it's all about velocity. But like any other patterns, it needs proper discipline and design thinking. Thank you for being with me in this Tech Talk by Samuel session. I'll talk to you in another video.